Morning. We are in Paris. Hey, Kelly.
How are you, Sarah?
I'm good. For those who are just joining, I'm Sarah Gross, host of the Women's Performance Podcast, which you are likely listening to or watching on YouTube. Hello, YouTube people. I hope you enjoyed our intro sequence. If you're listening on the podcast, head over to YouTube and watch our amazing intro sequence. It's so fun.
I feel like you have to tell people Sarah's dressed up as a baguette. Well, we think it's a baguette.
and Kelly O'Mara, my lovely co-host.
Yes, we are reporting from Paris on the Olympics right now. We're finally here. I feel like it's been such a buildup.
It has. I feel the most prepared this year, largely because of the podcast we've been recording. So,
you mean prepared for the Olympics?
Prepared, like in terms of, in a lot of years, the Olympics just, and maybe this is true for some other people, like it's sort of like, oh, it started. Quick, turn on the TV. You know what I mean? And so when we did a podcast together 8 years ago, right?
Oh yeah.
And I felt like I was really in the know about all things.
So you're an educated viewer this year.
Yes, and it's largely because of you, our amazing Olympic reporter.
Sarah also, so she got here yesterday. We got here on Saturday. We had to come further. We needed like a whole day to like catch up on jet lag.
You guys have been doing awesome, by the way, on the jet lag. Side note.
So we landed and our Airbnb was within a security zone, which means that they had shut down the roads for the cycling time trial, which was like on the corner. So we landed, had to walk really far from where the Uber was not allowed to get in anymore, and then just like wandered down and watched the time trial, like right out our front door.
That's amazing.
It was
okay. Before we talk about the time trial, which obviously we're going to talk about because
you want to talk about security.
I want to just note how good a job I did of choosing an amazing Paris apartment.
You can see it if you're watching on YouTube a little bit. The space rack. Well, in the background, it is a very Parisian, very Paris. Sarah's living out her Emily in Paris.
I wanted a little Emily in Paris moment, and I get it when I like open the window and we're here on our little Parisian street, and there's like cafes and boulangeries and all kinds of things. Just
there you go,
just below us. So very happy.
I do think probably a lot of people came to there's something like record number of tickets have been sold, 8.6 million or something like that. And it's like they expect like 10 million people to come or something. And I feel like a lot lot of people were just like, yeah, I could go to Paris. I could live out my Parisian fantasy.
I was not the only one. Is that what you're saying? It's record attendance. I didn't know that.
I don't know that they don't have all these attendance numbers yet, but they did sell the most tickets ever, which obviously that's just sort of like, if you have bigger stadiums, you'll sell more tickets, of course.
True.
But we have seen like rugby yesterday had the record attendance for a women's rugby game. It was like 60,000 or 16,000. I can't remember. It was a lot.
Yeah. And we have the first gender equal games. So that's fun too.
Yeah. Which I always am like, I'm always curious about, like, do they count every woman and every man to make sure it's equal?
Oh, is it like precise?
Yeah.
There's a lot. I feel like we could do a whole episode on this because honestly, I think there's something to like, because I know like in the 90s, they decided they wanted to create gender parity and they like went after it. And then they only started to like let new sports in that could like build into gender parity with them. So like you had to have, if you wanted to be a new sport in the Olympic Games, you had to prove that you had like develop the women's side of the sport like across the world.
Right. You had to like show that it was like both. They weren't letting in like just American football.
Right.
Although now we have flag football in LA, but whatever. But flag football is actually growing.
Yeah. It's a big women's sport. Yeah. Right. To like to that point. But then I feel like there's got to be this thing where, and maybe you know about this, Kelly, and this is the first time Kelly's hearing this. She was not prepped to answer this question, but like that there's some countries, for example, like if you like, I know that like some countries like Saudi Arabia, for example, came under pressure to develop their women's sports side. So like, do you think that there's some countries that have to make up for like some countries that have a more developed
that have to have like more women here because other countries have less women?
Yeah.
Like, well, that's what I've been wondering about that math wise in terms of the country aspect, but also the like, okay, there are only 12 women's soccer teams that qualify and there are 16 men's teams. So if it's equal, that means there's more women in some other event, right? Which is like, let's say artistic swimming, I believe is all women still, even though it's technically co-ed this year. So like, where is this getting made up? And that's where I got really down this hole of like, what do we actually mean? Did someone count all the women? Where are the women coming from?
Yeah. Like, there's a lot of, because I was thinking of it from a country's point of view, but also you're right. From that sports by sport point of view, there's going to be some sports that have better developed women's.
I did hear this is also the first Olympics where like all the events are like not equal, but like everyone, like women and men are doing the same events as opposed to, like There's been little like holdouts forever where like we didn't add this specific style of fencing until 2012 for women. Right. We didn't add like apparently this was the first year that the men and women raced the same distance in the cycling TT.
Right. So back to the time trial. Right. So the time trial that you witnessed when you first got here with your luggage rolling down the street outside of so it was the first time the men and women raced. Previously, the women raced shorter, right?
And which is like kind of funny because they did them back to back. So you're like, so what did they do before? They had the women go and then they like put up more barricades and had the men go, like, because obviously now they just did the same course.
It makes it easier for the organizers. Right. High five.
Yes. But yeah, so it was raining. I think everyone who saw the opening ceremonies saw it was raining during the opening ceremonies. When we landed on Saturday, it was still raining. And so we walked out in the rain and I walked out kind of as it was starting and we are staying closer to the finish. So there were no cyclists by us yet because they hadn't made it far. And there was like nobody out at first because it was like raining and there's nobody on course. And you're like, so I was a little nervous. I was actually like,
we saw your Instagram story.
Are there going to be fans? But they did come out later. They also came out closer to the finish start. Like when you walk maybe half a mile down, a K. When you walk a K down.
That's not half a mile technically, but
yeah, it's close.
Close.
Thank you. It's like a bigger kind of plaza and there was a lot of people there and they did not care as much about like what was happening. The nuances of cycling. They were like just cheering for everyone. And you could tell when a French rider was coming because it would just go insane.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. There was 2 French riders and it was nuts.
Right.
So that was cool.
Amazing. Okay. And you in one of the fan zones.
So we've been wandering all around, right? And the whole country's been like, what's the vibe? And like, obviously we've kind of been joking about security. It's been like a little bit of a thing.
It has been a little bit random.
It is random. Like we were laughing today and we'll talk about this more. Like, but we got stopped and then like we weren't allowed to walk through a fence that we aren't sure what that fence is for. But then Millie was able to bike through it. So we're unclear what happened.
Or there's like, we get stopped from going somewhere, but you can clearly see just like regular
people
like,
just out,
not accredited people, but just who are in the area where we want to go and aren't allowed to.
It feels deeply French to me, but it's fine.
I'm unclear about.
But it is also a little bit nice because like we're saying, like our Airbnb was inside one of the zones where they weren't letting cars in because of the cycling TT, and now like obviously that infrastructure has been taken down, but it meant that like there weren't that many cars, and that's been kind of nice. Like around all of the big landmarks you've heard of in Paris, like. It's a lot of zone of like no cars. Some zones are no bike. Like, so once you get within them, like if you bike or you walk or you take the train, like it actually feels way less crowded than Paris has felt before. Like it feels way less hectic, way less. I mean, I'm sure around like the super big popular events, it'll be crowded, but right now it actually is like Paris is much more pleasant than I remember Paris being.
I agree with that. I feel like I've seen a lot of people on TikTok like complaining about all the barriers and stuff.
It's crazy.
But like actually I found it kind of easier to get around without the crowds. Like you can see where you need to go and then you can just go, okay, I need to go around that barrier over there and where typically it's just kind of like full of people and a little overwhelming.
I will say I find it much nicer once you're inside. I still find, and then maybe this is what I mean by like it feels very French. It's very not American to be the arbitrariness of security is very right? There's this part of me that just really gets angry about that. Like, why do they get treatment and I don't get, right? Like,
to be fair. Maybe all those people walking on the inside all live there.
Sure.
They live in that quartier.
Sure. But this is like, so
I'm the devil's advocate to your
I think it's just the French, because I've also seen plenty of times where they're like, the police are stopping us from somewhere and then everyone starts yelling at each other in French and then suddenly the police are like, fine. And then we get to go. And so you're like, yeah, it feels like but once you're inside the zone and you're like no longer arguing with police in French, it is much cleaner, much like they are cleaning Paris, much calmer.
To be clear, nobody's arguing with police in French.
Many people.
Just not you.
Many. I don't speak good enough French, but I mean the French argue with the French. That is what they do.
That's true.
I will tell you, like, whatever media summit thing I was at before we came here, I was sitting next to a French journalist and she was like, I apologize in advance.
Really?
Yeah. She was like, because we are not actually that rude. That is just how we talk.
Oh, yeah. I don't think they're rude.
A lot of people think they're rude.
Really?
That is a stereotype of the French. Just so you know. It's kind of like saying a lot of people think Americans are stupid. Okay, it's a stereotype of.
Right. I understand it's a stereotype, but I don't think it's true.
I don't know. I mean, maybe if I knew what they were saying, mostly I just am like, All right, we've gone off on a side topic, but the point is, it is bizarre security. But once you're inside, there's less crowd. But there are still, and we have seen some Olympic crowds.
We've seen some Olympians.
I went down to pick up my credential, and there's like a big fan zone right next to it, and I was just walking around to see it, and this girl next to me like pulls out her medal. And it's just like, because she was just like out with her parents.
Nice.
Yeah.
And did you say, hey, can I get an interview?
I did. I was like, hey, it took me a second. I was like, oh, I know who that is. She's that diver, the Cook and Bacon team.
Oh, yeah. I also saw them on TikTok.
Yes. And so I chatted with Cassidy Cook very briefly right after her medal.
And they won silver, right?
They did.
Been truly amazing. It's starting to finally sink in. Yesterday I did a lot of media and just was living in a dream. It didn't quite settle in, but woke up this morning with my medal next to me on my nightstand, and it was just an unreal feeling. Not only to win my first Olympic medal, but to win the first Olympic medal for Team USA this Games is just like, I'm honored. We went to the Team USA house. We had a lot of media to do, which was really fun, really awesome, great opportunities. And then we just got to hang out with our families for a bit. We both have really big families, and they all came out to support us. So really happy that we got to celebrate with them and share that medal with our loved ones. I'm doing a walking tour today of the city. I haven't seen much outside the village, so I'm really excited to see this historic place. And then I will be going to as many events as I can, cheering on the rest of Team USA.
Awesome.
If you're like us, you're totally inspired by Katie Ledecky and Summer McIntosh and more ready than ever to up your swim training. So let's take a minute to talk about hair and skincare for swimmers. You've probably asked yourself questions like, how can I keep my hair healthy and hydrated as a swimmer? How can I avoid my skin feeling itchy and dry after being in the pool? And how can I get rid of those pesky goggle marks around my eyes? Enter TryHard. TryHard has pre- and post-swim solutions designed to reduce the absorption of pool and ocean chemicals into your hair and skin. We love using TryHard's pre- and post-swim conditioner before and after every swim to keep our hair feeling great. TryHard also has a bunch of other products useful for swimmers, like their pre- and post-swim eye gel, which totally works for getting rid of those pesky goggle marks and puffy eye feeling, while providing hydration and a cooling effect. TryHard products are vegan, dermatologically tested, and packaged in recycled plastic. Whether you're swimming in the pool, the ocean, or maybe even the Seine, take care of your hair and skin with TryHard. Use the code FEISTYGAMES for 22% off site-wide at tryhard.co. Plus, you'll get an extra 5% off during sales on top of the already discounted price. That's Feisty Games for 22% off at tryhard.co.
Cool. Well, Kelly, that was fun that you got to bump into her. Did she say anything to you off mic?
She was like, who are you? What are you doing? No, she was with her family, and they were doing this walking tour.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's funny. Like I've talked to, I think you've talked to like Olympians over the years for different stories. And I feel like a lot more are hanging out this year after a lot of them plan to actually stay.
Right. The Paris effect. Mm-hmm.
The glamour.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
So that was really cool. And then we did see some more athletes in passing this morning because they were still warming up for their event.
I feel like we saw a lot of Olympians this morning and just didn't recognize them.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like there were a lot of like athletic people out jogging.
I was, but then you're also like, when I was landed in the airport, I'm pretty sure there was this American, possibly rugby player, whatever, on my flight. And you're kind of looking, you're like, you seem too athletic and in too much Team USA gear to not be at the Olympics. Mm-hmm. But that might be projections.
Yeah.
Yeah. This morning, though, we went down to the swim fam. That's why we saw so many Olympians.
The swim fam, which is where the athletes. How would you describe it? It's where like the athletes have a chance to swim on the course ahead of time.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It was so basically it's triathlon swim practice. And the whole thing though was that like swim practice got canceled yesterday because of high bacteria levels. And then we thought like, okay, we'll get it done today. Got canceled again this morning.
Canceled again today.
Oh, and so the triathlon, the men's is tomorrow, Tuesday. Women's is Wednesday morning. And everyone's very nervous.
Yeah. Okay. Kelly, can you give us the cold notes? I mean, I think a lot of people are just like vaguely aware, like me, that like there might be some bacteria in the Seine because there was quite a lot of excrement dumped into it at some stage. But like, can you just give us the Coles notes of like what's going on?
Yeah, so like they have spent, what is it, like 1.5 billion or something like that to clean up the Seine.
1.5 billion.
Yeah. And everyone's like, oh my God, that's ridiculous. But then as the mayor, I went to this press conference with the mayor and I see they pointed out, or deputy mayor, that's not just like, oh, for the Olympics. That's like, hey, we probably should have cleaned this up a while ago.
Right.
Right. We probably should have been saving money by dumping our sewage in the Seine.
Right.
So like this is a long-term project, but basically the Olympics gave them a deadline. And the problem is that for years and years, some houses and boat were literally dumping sewage straight into the Seine.
Yeah.
So literally when they started this cleaning up project in the last 10 years, they had to go and connect thousands of houses upriver to the sewage system.
Right. And like to be like, not to throw Paris under the bus. Like,
no. It's totally
because, like a lot of places that are like, we have the same challenge in Victoria, right? Where at some stage at recent stages, we were like dumping our sewage into the water. Right. So I think a lot of places on the water like did that or still do that or are trying to find a path out of a better way to treat your sewage.
So like in the Bay Area, the problem was like the houseboats. A lot of those are not connected to the sewage system. So that was also a problem here. They had to connect a couple hundred houseboats to the sewage system.
Right.
So that was one of the first big steps, was just like, let's not dump our sewage straight into the water anymore. And then the second step is kind of like this other thing that I think a lot of people have heard about and been a little confused about, but it's that the system here is really old. This is, again, really common in older cities. And that meant that when the system for sewage, like when you flush your toilet, is the same system that collects rainwater. So when it rains really, really heavy, it just goes into the sewers and then they overflow. Right. And then they overflow all that sewage into the river. So even though it wasn't dumping directly, it was overflowing. So then they also had to build this massive basin to catch all the rainwater so that it wouldn't overflow.
Right. There was a lot of work.
Yeah. So first it was like getting all the houses to connect the sewer system. Then it was making sure it didn't overflow. And then it was actually cleaning, like bringing all the treatment plants, really like getting like better treatment so that the water that is going in is even more treated and cleaner. So they really made a big effort. It's something like there used to only be like 3 kinds of fish in the river. And now there's like 36.
Oh,
yeah. So, it's definitely improved. And not
sounds
just,
like you learned a lot.
I learned a lot
at this press conference.
We talked extensively about the history and culture of the river and its effects.
I would have loved this. I wish I had been there.
But so like the obsession is about whether or not the swim events are going to happen, which is the triathlon and the open water swimming. But I think it's like important to note that like this is actually important for the city as well. Right. Like they are going to open up beaches for actual public swimming next summer.
Oh, cool.
After they like finish up, it's not just the bacteria. They have to also make sure boats aren't going to hit people.
Right.
Like get that sorted.
Yeah. And I think, I think another very important thing to note is that like, even though like the swim familiarization was canceled yesterday, Millie on our team still caught like video of people swimming in the Seine. So it's like, it's an interesting thing because there are very clear technical European standards on what the bacteria levels have to be. And so you would think like, okay, if it's below that, they're just not going to swim. I think they're going to swim. Right. Like they swam in Rio. Yeah.
They swam in Tokyo. We had the same kind of like mass hysteria about these concerns around Rio and Tokyo. The European standards are obviously stricter than Rio, but I still think they're going to swim.
Right. And we had the same thing. Like, remember the games in Sydney and the sharks? And everybody was like, how are they going to keep the sharks out of the bay? And then they did with like some sonar guns or something.
I will also say, and I was telling you this when we were walking down there this morning, and we talked about this on our, if you're listening on the Feisty Try feed, you know this. We talked about this on our If We Were Writing podcast. One of our co-hosts on that was in the London Olympics, and she used to do the French Grand Prix races, which are these like pro series here. And she was like, oh yeah, we swim in the Seine. We swam French Grand Prix.
So there's been triathlons.
Right. It's happened before. And nobody was like freaking out.
Right.
So it's kind of like, it's an interesting, you're like, okay.
Yeah. Or I think it's heightened around the Olympics. And then like news needs stories and they feed themselves. Like I get it.
So I really much think, and the other problem is that it does get worse with rain. It did rain Friday and Saturday. By the time the races come around, we'll have had enough days of dry. The backup dates, if they have to reschedule, are this Thursday and Friday, and it's supposed to rain again Wednesday night and Thursday. So it's actually like worse. It's actually better if we can get it in now.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to make it happen.
It's going to happen.
I know I've said this so confidently to so many people that now if it doesn't, I will probably lose a lot of money.
I know. And I have like, anyone who's messaged me who's been like, is the triathlon going to happen? And I'm like, yes. I've just been like channeling your
100%.
confidence. Like Kelly said it will. Therefore,
I will say all the athletes also think it will. They're like, stop asking us. Right. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
They're actually like, do you know how gross the water is we've swum in other places?
Yeah. Well, exactly. Like that's my reaction as someone who's raced a lot of triathlons with like very sketchy swim conditions under like various different circumstances, whether it's like waves, weather, water quality, etc. And so like, I'm just like, it always goes ahead with the elite race. Yeah.
All right. So I know we're going to have some picks and some things, but should we take an ad break first before we make our picks? So you have to stay tuned for our picks.
Here at Feisty, we are dedicated to partnering with brands that are mission-driven and having an impact. That's why we are thrilled to be supported by Joni, a company creating game-changing period care for everybody. Many conventional menstrual products rely on plastic made from petroleum, a non-renewable resource. Did you know that in the US, approximately 12 billion pads and 7 billion tampons are discarded annually, and these products generate over 200,000 tons of plastic waste per year? It can take 500 to 800 years for a single petroleum-based plastic disposable pad to decompose due to its materials, and tampons with applicators also contribute to plastic waste, which can take centuries to break down. Joni is dedicated to bring the wasteful and antiquated feminine hygiene industry into the 21st century. Using a design-led approach, Joni's personal care products and commercial dispensers provide the most innovative and accessible period and leak care solutions in the world. Organic and free of harmful levels of chemicals or irritating fragrances, Joni's pads and tampons support menstrual health and the environment, while allocating at least 2% of revenues to break the cycle of period poverty, dismantle menstrual stigmas, and empower periods. Now that's what we call 21st century period care. Ditch uninspiring and irritating feminine hygiene products and say hi to Joni's silky soft, super absorbent, and toxin-free pads and tampons. Joni pads feature a wrapper and protective layer made from cornstarch, a plant-based material, making them biodegradable and compostable in the right conditions. Joni tampons are made with organic cotton. They're compostable, including the wrapper, which is made of cellulose. Choosing sustainable period products isn't just a trend, it's a movement. You can get 10% off your order with the code Feisty at getjoni.com. That's 10% off at GETJONI.com with the code Feisty. Historically, athletic footwear has been designed, researched, and tested for men. Brands have relied on the shrink it and pink it approach to sell male shoes to female customers. That's why we are so excited Heddas is working with us on our Paris coverage. Heddas is building high-performance, technical running shoes for women from the ground up. They operate from a purely female perspective, which we love, and their mission is to ensure the female running experience gets the funding, research, and recognition it deserves. Heddas has unlocked the science behind women's biomechanics through dedicated research and creates better shoes for women's performance. Some of Heddas' special features include a lower ankle collar to reduce rubbing on women's ankle bones, a breathable mesh toe box to allow for ventilation and accommodate female toe shape, and a supercritical foam and Pebax plate midsole to keep our legs going when the going gets tough. Heddas has 3 shoe models designed for different sessions: the Alma Cruise for long runs, the Alma Tempo for training days, and the Alma Speed for pushing the pace. Celebrate the outstanding performances at the Olympics with your own pair of Heddas. Use the code Feisty20 for 20% off at heddas.com. That's Feisty20 for 20% off at heddas.com.
All right, Sarah. It's like this is the funny thing about when you're at an event, and I feel like this happened when we were in Kona. Like you don't actually see that much of the events, like what's going on sometimes.
Right. That's definitely been our experience, especially like in a triathlon where you're like, but this is the Olympic Games.
Right.
We can go and sit in stands.
We go
and
to
watch
stands.
things.
But like if I was at home, I would just be sitting and watching TV for like 10 hours a day.
Yeah, you would see everything. if you were at home. Although you have been watching some stuff.
Right.
You have
So
been
now,
taking it in, right, Kelly?
Yeah. So now I'm having to like pick and choose like which things, and hearing from different people who are at events, and obviously we're going to events. But it's been a little harder to follow. So I have had some like favorite moments so far.
Okay.
Okay.
Get
You want to hear?
shoot.
Share
I wanna know.
what they are. Okay. I mean, the Pauline Ferrand-Prévot winning the mountain bike race yesterday. She's a French rider, won on French soil. And I mean, she's epic. I can't even remember how many world championships he's had in road and mountain bike.
Multiple.
Like,
yeah.
it's insane. And she just she had a bad race in Tokyo, so she just didn't have an Olympic medal yet. And to win here, I also saw the video of her at the France house last night after.
Oh.
And they were just going nuts for her. It was crazy.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So that was really, really cool.
Good favorite moment.
Favorite moment. The swimming's been pretty good. I know we're going to swimming tonight. We'll talk about that in a second.
Ooh.
It's been interesting. The Australians are really dominating the US. I know it's this whole rivalry. Yeah. And so that's been a little disappointing, I have to say, to see my Americans not coming through. But the Americans are back in soccer. This is my big. The U.S. women's soccer team. They are back on top. They won 3-0. They won 4-1 against Germany.
Right.
We have tickets to the final. So I'm fingers crossed.
Our Canadian teams.
Well, it's mired in controversy.
Got off to a rough start.
We were laughing about the whole drone controversy because, so if you haven't been paying attention, Canada got in trouble for flying an unauthorized drone over a rival's practice. And I was just laughing because if this was an American controversy, one person would have resigned and we would have been like, too bad, that's it. And the Canadians are like, we are so sorry. We are ashamed. Everyone is going to resign.
I don't even know what happened there. Was it a joke? Why were they doing that?
No, they wanted the secret intel.
They really did. That really was the intention.
Yeah. Yeah. It was not a joke. No.
Wow. Okay.
That's why you're ashamed.
We're Canadian. We are. I am.
So, but
that's why I'm like, is it a joke? Did Canadians really do that? Okay. Okay. Other favorite moments, Kelly.
But yeah, so the women's soccer team is huge for me. I love them, and I'm really excited. They have a new coach, they have a new lineup, and it's funny to me because I was talking to somebody, and I was like, the coach has literally only been there for 4 games so far, and they're better already. What did she do? Tell them to just play better. How do you change a team that quickly? You know what I mean?
But I think that, sometimes we've seen this when teams or individuals change coaches. Sometimes you get this surge of energy around the change, just you're looking forward to the change. And then if the coach is kind of I don't know, is a good coach and a good motivator, it's not necessarily what they're doing, but just the energy around the change.
And she did change the lineup, that's probably what's happening. And I'm sure yes, they've been running more combo play, but it is kind of funny. I think she maybe was just pull it together.
And they were like, yes, ma'am.
Yes. So that's been great. And of course, Simone Biles is back. We love her. It's really nice to see her she seems, I don't even want to say happier because she does, but she also seems like she gives 0 Fs.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ella and I were laughing earlier about how there's there was someone had done, I know you would probably know, someone had done one of Simone Biles' moves, and now it's called the Biles 1 because she's made so many original moves in gymnastics that they have to number them. So I think we're now onto the Biles 4.
Yeah.
That's coming up. That's
there's
crazy.
a whole argument that some of her moves are actually undervalued for how hard they are because the scoring team they don't want to encourage other athletes to try them and get injured. And so there's been this well, Simone, why are you still doing these moves if you're not earning all the points? And she's like, because I fucking can.
Right.
Why not?
Yeah.
So we love her. We could not get tickets to that because they were highly impacted.
Right.
But we did get tickets to lots of other things. So what are you looking forward to?
Oh gosh. Okay. I am looking forward to the women's triathlon on Wednesday morning.
Of course.
Even though I'm a little out of the loop on the triathlon thing and not super invested anymore, but I definitely
still pretty invested.
Still my sport at the end of the day. And I'm still super stoked to see the women race.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I you're I don't know as many people personally anymore.
They're not my friends racing anymore.
So I really am rooting for my friends, but
I'm happy to root for people I don't know also. Yeah.
So that will be really fun. And then we are going to swimming tonight, which I'm excited about because I have actually, I've been to track stuff before, but I've never been to swimming because it is it's a smaller stadium or whatever you call it, auditorium. So it is harder to get tickets. So I just, and I did pick these tickets hoping that Katie Ledecky was going to do the 200 and now she's not.
Right.
But we are going to see the 400 IM.
The 400 IM is my favorite.
Yeah, so that'll be something. And then I did just get us tickets for rugby tomorrow, finals.
Rugby finals.
So that'll be pretty cool. Never watched rugby sevens.
I haven't either. Not live.
So there you go.
So it's amazing. So, and what we're going to do is everything that we watch, we're going to bring you all the recaps and updates and all the exciting things that happen right here on the podcast. So make sure you tune in tomorrow and the day after and the day after until the end of the games.
Until the end.
Until August 11th.
And if you want picks and what to watch and kind of this all summed up, we are sending out a daily newsletter each morning that you can get if you're part of the Women's Sports Fan Club. You can follow us on Instagram for kind of some more. If you want to see baguettes in France,
at Feisty_media. We do have 2 baguette costumes and we are around Paris, doing stuff in baguette costumes. So it's fun.
So stay tuned and we'll be bringing you all of the feisty French flavor from Paris.